Some moments don't announce themselves as important. They just buzz on your coffee table and wait for you to look down. At 11:47 p.m., my phone lit up with a new email. I almost ignored it. I was halfway through a documentary I wasn't really watching, trying to quiet my mind after a long day of dashboards and data calls. Then I saw the sender, Marcus Hale. The subject line was blank. The message wasn't, "Send me the password to the shared drive," all caps, no greeting, no context. Before I could even process that, another email followed. "I need full administrative access. Non-negotiable. Non-negotiable." I sat up slowly. My name is Arden Whitlock, 49 years old. That shared drive he was talking about isn't some internal folder floating on a company server. It's the infrastructure I built through my own company. The servers run under contracts in my name. The architecture was designed and funded through Whitlock Systems, LLC, licensed to this company under a master services agreement signed 4 years ago. He had been here 19 days. I read his message again, slower this time. There was no confusion in the wording. It wasn't a request. It was an assertion. I opened my laptop and pulled up the contract. Section 7.3, contractor retains exclusive ownership. I had written that clause carefully after learning the hard way what happens when you assume people will respect your work without it being in writing. I drafted my reply without embellishment. No password. That drive is under contract. Check with legal. I didn't add anything else. I didn't need to. When I hit send, I knew this wasn't about a password. It was about control. 5 minutes later, another notification flashed across my screen. The legal email that came in 5 minutes later didn't surprise me. It only confirmed what I already knew. But to understand why I didn't flinch, you have to understand what that system actually is. 4 years ago, this company wasn't sitting in a polished downtown Austin office. We were in a converted warehouse off the east side. Exposed beams, folding tables. The place smelled faintly like machine oil and burnt coffee. Back then, there were 5 of them and one anxious founder trying to convince investors they weren't about to collapse. "We need real numbers," he told me during our first meeting. "Not guesses, not spreadsheets that break every week. Something solid." "I can build that," I said, "but I build it through my company. Ownership stays with me. You get full usage." He blinked. "Why would ownership stay with you? Because I've done this before." I said, "And last time I didn't protect myself. That last startup had taken something I built on my own time. $200,000 worth of intellectual property turned into theirs overnight because I didn't read one clause carefully enough. I signed. I trusted. I paid for that mistake for years. So this time, I didn't. I funded the hosting through Whitlock Systems, LLC. I paid developers out of my own account when we needed help scaling. I built the architecture layer by layer while they were trying to survive their first funding round. When the master services agreement came across the table, I pointed to the clause. Section 7.3, contractor retains ownership of all proprietary systems. The founder's lawyer skimmed it. "Standard contractor protection," he said. "Good," I replied, "because I don't build things I don't own." And then I delivered. Within 3 months, we had predictive dashboards, supply chain forecasting, revenue modeling that actually worked. Investors stopped asking if the company understood its own numbers. They didn't build that. I did. And now Marcus, 19 days in, was treating it like a shared folder he could just absorb. Have you ever had to protect your work because no one else would? Marcus Hale didn't waste time trying to be liked. His first all-hands meeting lasted 12 minutes. He stood at the front of the room, sleeves crisp, voice controlled. "Over the next 90 days, he said, we're reducing vendor dependency across the board. Critical systems need internal oversight." He didn't look at me directly, but everyone in that room knew which system he meant. After the meeting, I got a calendar invite, 15 minutes, no agenda. He started before I even sat down. "Why is our core reporting infrastructure managed outside the company?" "It isn't managed outside," I said. "It's licensed. There's a difference." He clasped his hands on the table. "We can't have operational blind spots. You don't have blind spots. I replied. You have usage rights to everything. That's not ownership? No, I agreed. It isn't. He studied me for a moment, like he was recalculating. I was brought in to tighten control. He said, the board expects measurable changes within 90 days. So this is about optics. This is about accountability. Then read the master services agreement. I said, it explains the structure. I've reviewed it, he answered. Reviewed or skimmed. His jaw tightened. I understand enough. That was the moment I realized this wasn't about clarity. It was about authority. He saw a system the company depended on and assumed control should follow dependency. I'm not trying to undermine you, I said evenly. But the ownership clause was deliberate. We'll revisit that, he replied. Revisit? As if it were a draft. When someone steps into a structure they didn't build, they either study it or they try to claim it. I opened the system logs before I answered him again. Timestamp 11:47 p.m. User credential Marcus Hale. Action replication request. Full environment clone. Not browsing, not reviewing. Cloning. I stared at the screen longer than I needed to. My monitoring system had already blocked the attempt, flagged it, archived it. Every call, every failed permission check. I drafted an email. Marcus. The system recorded an attempt to replicate the full infrastructure from your account last night. That functionality isn't available under the current licensing agreement. Looping in legal for clarity, I added the company's general counsel to the thread. Quietly, no drama, just documentation. He responded in 12 minutes. There seems to be confusion about ownership. I need full administrative credentials by end of day. This is non-negotiable. I read it twice. Non-negotiable. I picked up my phone and called Judith in Houston. He tried to clone it. I said, clone as in full system replication, she asked. Yes, that's a material breach attempt, she said calmly. The contract's airtight. Arden, Section 11.2 covers unauthorized replication. Section 11.5 covers revocation if the agreement's violated. So I'm protected. You are completely. I thanked her and hung up, but I didn't feel triumphant. I felt the weight of it. 80 employees log into that system every morning. Sales forecasts, inventory planning, payroll projections. If this escalates, they'll feel it first. Marcus sent another message. I expect compliance. Today, I typed back slowly. I can't provide credentials that don't exist under the contract. Any changes require board approval and written amendment. I didn't add anything else. Here's the part I don't say out loud. I could avoid all of this by handing it over, smooth things out, be easy to work with. But if I give up structural ownership now, I don't get it back. When protecting yourself might hurt others. What do you choose? The conference room felt smaller than usual. Marcus sat at the head of the table. Linda, our CFO, to his right. James from HR to his left. I took the chair across from them. Marcus started without small talk. This isn't personal, he said. It's risk management. We can't have core infrastructure controlled externally? It isn't externally controlled, I replied. It's licensed. The distinction matters. Linda kept her hands folded. James opened a notebook but didn't look up. Marcus leaned forward. The company depends on that system daily. We need full administrative access. Section 7.3, I said calmly. Contractor retains exclusive ownership of all proprietary systems developed under the agreement. He didn't blink. It was built for company use. Section 7.4, I continued. Client receives full usage rights, not ownership. That language is deliberate. His jaw tightened slightly. We're prepared to compensate you for a full transfer, he said. Fair market value. Transfer requires written amendment and majority board approval. I replied, that's in the agreement. Linda finally spoke. Marcus, the original structure was intentional. He cut her off. Structures evolve. He turned back to me. If we can't resolve this cooperatively, we'll explore other options. Litigation, I asked. If necessary. There it was. I kept my voice steady. Section 14.2 covers indemnification. Legal costs fall on the company if the dispute arises from enforcing ownership clauses. And Section 11.5 allows immediate revocation of access upon material breach. James stopped writing. Marcus held my gaze. Are you threatening to shut down company systems I'm describing the contract you signed into? Silence. The kind that hums. Linda shifted in her seat. Maybe we should review the language again before escalating. Marcus didn't look at her. We need control. And I need the contract honored. I said, for a moment. No one moved. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. Just pressure building. Invisible but heavy. Have you ever been the only calm person in a room trying to intimidate you? Marcus broke the silence first. If you're unwilling to cooperate, he said flatly, then we're terminating the agreement. Effective immediately. The words landed heavier than I expected. Linda turned to him. Marcus, that's not, it's done. He cut in. We'll handle the infrastructure internally. I kept my voice even. To be clear, you're terminating the master services agreement as of right now, yes. James stopped writing altogether. There it was. Not a threat. Not a negotiation tactic. A decision. I closed my laptop slowly. You understand what that triggers under Section 11.5. We'll manage, he said. Manage. I stood. I'll send formal acknowledgement within the hour. No one tried to stop me. In the elevator, the metal walls reflected a steadier version of me than I felt. My hands were trembling slightly. Not panic. Adrenaline. The kind that hits after impact. Outside, I sat in my car and stared at the steering wheel for a full minute before calling Judith. He terminated it. I said, there was a pause. Then a soft exhale. What effective? Immediately, in front of CFO and HR. She didn't hesitate. Then a revocation rights activate instantly. He just handed you full leverage. I leaned back against the seat. The realization settled in. Cold and precise. I didn't want it to go this far. I said, he chose how far it went. She replied, you're just enforcing what was written. Enforcing. Have you ever watched someone destroy their own leverage in real time? I drafted the email carefully. No emotion, no sarcasm. Per Section 11.5 of the Master Services Agreement, termination initiated by the client results in immediate cessation of licensing rights. Access to all Whitlock Systems infrastructure will be revoked effective 5 p.m. today. I listed every component. Data pipelines, forecast models, reporting dashboards, 37 systems in total. I hit send at 2:17 p.m. By 2:23, my phone started ringing. First Linda, Arden. What did you send a formal acknowledgement of termination? You're actually shutting it down. I'm enforcing the contract Marcus terminated. Silence. Then, this is escalating fast. It already escalated. Slack notifications started lighting up my screen. Sales channel. Why isn't the forecast updating operations? Dashboard not loading. By 3:30, department heads were emailing. Is this a glitch? No. I replied to one, it's a contractual consequence. At 4:10, my phone lit up with a name I hadn't seen in weeks. Daniel Reyes, founder. Arden. He said, voice tight, what is happening? Marcus terminated the agreement. You're pulling the system, I'm revoking access at 5. Can you delay only if the board formally reverses the termination in writing? That's not simple. Neither was terminating a critical infrastructure contract without review. He exhaled sharply. Give me time. Until 5. At 4:40, the dashboards began timing out. Not fully offline yet, but unstable. Sales pinged again. We have investor calls tomorrow. I didn't respond. 4:53 p.m. New email. Board letterhead. Signed by all 5 directors. This is to confirm the reversal of the termination issued earlier today. The Master Services Agreement with Whitlock Systems, LLC is reinstated effective immediately. I read it twice, forwarded it to Judith, then I paused the shutdown scripts. At 4:59, everything stabilized. Marcus never called. At what point does authority become recklessness? Monday morning felt strangely quiet. Marcus's name wasn't on the executive sync agenda. No explanation. Just gone. At 9:23, an internal memo landed in everyone's inbox. Marcus Hale will be on administrative leave pending review of recent operational decisions. Operational decisions. That's how they framed it. By 10, Slack threads were already buzzing. Did something happen? Friday? Why were the dashboards glitching? I heard legal got involved. No one tagged me directly, but I could feel it. The sideways glances in the hallway, the way conversations paused when I walked by. Around 11, Linda called. "We met all weekend," she said without preamble. I assumed the board was not informed before he terminated your agreement. I figured that too, she exhaled slowly. We should have stepped in sooner. You did step in, I said. At 4:53, there was a short silence on the line. They'd like to apologize formally, she added, and reaffirm the licensing structure in writing. It was already in writing. I know. Later that afternoon, I received an official email from the board secretary. We regret the escalation and confirm full reinstatement of the original agreement without modification. No spin, no corporate gloss, just acknowledgement. By Tuesday, Marcus's access badge didn't work anymore. No announcement about his departure, just an empty office and a reassigned calendar. I didn't celebrate. I didn't feel victorious. Mostly, I felt tired. When accountability happens behind closed doors, does it still count 2 weeks later? They introduced the new vice president, Allison Brenner. She didn't call a grand meeting. She scheduled a 1-hour session with me first. When we sat down, she opened with this. I read the entire master services agreement. All 63 pages. I almost smiled. That already puts you ahead. She didn't laugh. Marcus made an assumption. I don't plan to. Good answer. She leaned forward slightly. I'm not here to take ownership of your infrastructure. I'm here to understand how to work with it properly. That's all I've ever asked for, I said. She nodded. Going forward, any discussion about architecture changes goes directly through you. No side requests, no credential demands, and no replication attempts at midnight. I added. Her expression tightened. That won't happen again. We walked through the structure line by line. Usage rights, data access, emergency protocols. I want this documented internally, she said, so no one else treats it like a shared folder. Documentation matters. I replied. Later that week, the board sent a formal addendum reaffirming the licensing structure. Clear language, signed again. Not because it changed anything legally, because it acknowledged reality. Before leaving the meeting, Allison paused. For what it's worth, she said, you handled that professionally. I handled it contractually. I corrected. She gave a small nod. Fair. Trust doesn't come back all at once. It comes back in small, procedural steps. Can trust be rebuilt after boundaries are tested 6 months later? The system loads the same way it always has. Quiet, stable, no drama. I log in early, like I usually do. Sales projections update. Inventory numbers reconcile. Forecast models run clean. At the bottom of the main dashboard, in small gray text, it reads Infrastructure by Whitlock Systems, LLC. Allison notices it during a quarterly review. You've always had that footer there, she asks. Yes, it's subtle. It's intentional. She nods. It's earned. That word sits with me longer than I expect. Later that afternoon, Daniel calls. I wanted to say again, he begins. We mishandled that. You hired someone under pressure. I reply, pressure makes people grab for control. He nearly cost us everything. No. I say calmly, he nearly exposed a structure no one bothered to understand. There's a difference. After we hang up, I sit with that thought. This was never about ego. It wasn't about humiliating Marcus or proving I was smarter. It was about architecture. Power isn't loud. It doesn't slam doors or send emails in all caps. It's written, signed, filed, backed up in 3 locations. I learned that after losing $200,000 worth of intellectual property years ago because I trusted a handshake more than a clause. That mistake burned once. I didn't let it burn twice. If you build something valuable, protect it early. Don't wait until someone tests you. Put it in writing. Document it. Clarify it before anyone has to raise their voice. And when someone challenges your boundaries, respond with structure, not emotion. I still work with them. For now, the renewal agreement sits in my inbox. I haven't signed it yet. Not because I'm angry, because I'm careful. Architecture isn't about walls. It's about knowing where the load-bearing beams are. Think about your own foundations. If something matters to you, write it down. Protect it. Talk about it before someone else decides it's theirs. Then close the laptop calmly.